Hey guys, so it's been a while since I've done a vlog type video, but after watching all the previews and reviews for the new Canon 4K mirrorless camera, the M50, I wasn't surprised to see all the negative feedback in the comment section. Yeah, it was brutal. So does the Canon M50 really have worthless, useless, unusable 4K? My thoughts coming up. Honestly, looking at the specs, I can understand why some people are upset. I mean, when you look at it at UHD, what everyone's calling 4K nowadays, you can record up to 30 FPS. 1080p you can record at 60, 30, and 24 frames per second. And you can record up to 120 frames per second, but at a crappy 720p resolution that no one's filming at nowadays. But something about this seems familiar. Those specs are similar to the camera that I'm filming with right now, the Samsung NX500, which was released in 2015, 3 years ago. Besides the specs, something similar between these cameras is the launch day price. The Canon M50 is going to be sold for $779 US without a lens, just the body. And with a lens, the kit lens, you're going to spend $900 US. The Samsung NX500, if I recall correctly, was sold with the kit lens for $800 US. One major similarity is the crop factor. Now, this was an issue for people back in 2015, and boy is this an issue for people now in 2018. Okay, for vlogging, this crop factor is obviously not that great. But the thing that separates the Samsung NX500 and the Canon M50 is the autofocus. Now, in 2015, Samsung's autofocus wasn't the best, but the phase detection autofocus in the NX500 in 4K is still better than the contrast detection in the Canon M50. But what if you're not vlogging? What if you're just behind the camera? Sorry guys, I had to change location because it's getting too dark outside. Sorry about the acoustics in my office. It's not ready for recording, but it's all I have. But anyways, what if you're recording something besides your face? Then that crop factor could actually be a blessing. Say if you're doing a product review, that crop factor will actually help you to get a nice zoomed in image of the product that you're trying to review. And if you plan on recording interviews, you can always position your camera a little further away than you would at 1080p and still get the desired focal length. Also, while you're behind the camera, or when you get more comfortable with filming, more and more you'll find that you'll be using manual mode and you'll be focusing manually as well, and that will alleviate the crappy 4K autofocusing issues that the M50 has. On another note, I feel there's too much hype for 4K. Whew, I need an AC for my office, it's hot in here. The resolution that you film at and the camera that you use, they're just tools for getting a job done, and that is to have a nice video. And to have a nice video, the story matters the most. Here's a recent family vacation that I had as an example. Well, that didn't go as planned. I got stuck on the slide, but it was still fun. The fun my family had on that trip was conveyed in UHD at 30 frames per second, 1080p at 60 frames per second, 1080p at 30 frames per second on a Samsung Galaxy S5, and in the non-YouTube work that I do, I also mix up my filming as well. So I just can't agree with the statement that the 4K in the Canon M50 is unusable. The image quality on the M50 is great, and the same can be said for most cameras in this price point. However, if you're only planning to film behind the camera, I would suggest saving a couple $100 and investing in a Panasonic G7 for your 4K needs. All you need to learn is how to focus manually with that camera because yes, all Panasonic cameras use contrast detection for their autofocus, which isn't great. But if you need decent in-body image stabilization, then spend a little bit more for the Panasonic G85. And if you also need unlimited recording times, the G85 does that as well. But if you need great autofocus, regardless that it's only in 1080p, and you also need to film some sweet 4K B-roll, then the Canon M50 is definitely a camera you should consider looking at. Personally, I won't be investing in the Canon M50 because the features are just too similar to my Samsung NX500, and the only improvements I see is the fully rotatable screen and the mic jack. I'm interested in finding a camera that'll offer me excellent image quality at 1080p at 120 frames per second. And I'm hoping that Canon will have something in the near future in the under 2K price point. Otherwise, I'm probably gonna have to invest big in a Sony a7 III. Anyways guys, if you like this video, smash that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already for more content to come, and see you guys next week.